So ever since I was a kid, there were people that made strangers that made confessions to me about the kids of leaders of kids and demonstrations to me that I don't know. And they're tied to ones I don't know at all. I don't even, only reason I saw a picture of him on Facebook, a Joshua Julian, and his name had been repeated to me years later, years before that, by people who have been planting evidences on my street from other areas, with people increasingly involved with proven child abusers, leaders of kids, years apart, where they were roles first forcing that, with other natures of organized crime, with judges and prosecutors and their family members, and doctors and lawyers at Hartford Hospital, and with intercities campuses, colleges, and universities. A Rick C.M. Paglione sought me out to make confessions and demonstrations. He said that on the side of, and the people confirmed, intelligence on the sides of and at Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut through time. They have roles with intelligence families that used to live near me. And they have roles with all the police departments in Connecticut, and with former director of the F.B.I. Robert Luskin, former standing chairperson on Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. No recorded grouping criminal enterprises wrong as collusion/S, also with terrorists, and the World Trade Center attack, with people involved with differences, racketeering worse than war crimes. Eric Oliveri said that he has federal evidence as crimes. I never tried to seek him out in my life. He sought me out to confess, demonstrate, record, confirm with others too, who live near victims of the World Trade Center attack. And they had, as people who had been involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders against me, by people who have been putting fake things in databases at my campuses and acting tied to it, acting tied to predicate acts roles. No, because that was predicate acts roles, wrongdoing roles too. Because these are people involved with foreign countries and the World Trade Center predicate acts. And worse than war crimes of black people's rights of ours. These are black, white women judges involved with some black KKK, Confederate flag themed, Italian themed, Latino themed, sexual group differences themed, roles with criminally foreign influence uses of location /S, and then cover ups of that. Increasingly, Social Security has all kinds of scams. They forced me for a mental evaluation. I didn't speak with anyone because I saw the people there were recorded themselves, involved with the Dillon family, involved with the Leahy family, involved with like a Rick C.M. Paglione with judges and prosecutors through time, criminally and F.B.I. and foreign and domestic military, overt criminal enterprises, private ones, sexual and medical offenders of kids as family members, involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, putting fake things in databases, fake ties and fake natures of ties between kids, and then acting tied to it. And they're keeping they're on a mass scale. They're communicating how some ways the foreign overt criminal enterprises, private ones, need it. In some ways, our own need it. And this is at countries A through Z. It's there too. That's why Russia and America and Ukraine have suburbs looking the same, the suburbs. They were designed before America's founders were born for torture and extortion and slavery that was entrenched northern colonies and southern colonies, sickly distinctly through the different names too, and sickly non-distinctly. We haven't addressed that because other things, others ourselves, our self-values having been communicated for our founders, plural, and their roles with James Madison and his plan. And then they went and got George Washington to agree to help them and to use that plan. Psychiatrists and psychiatry has been rules of all kinds of natures of criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, raw, takes on reality, and criminally foreign influence uses of words like research, dishonestly, while tactically delusions raw, though. This is important because for 3 days, they charge like $20,000 to insurance companies, to Social Security. The Hartford Hospital with the Leahy family putting fake transcripts, forging names of other doctors. And that is used to cover up how there were collusion /S with all natures of investigators. and names of the people of the sciences, and exceptions. The difference of their guilt or overt criminal enterprises, private ones, or terrorists. This breaching method forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded names of the human species body of individual bodies, like countries' names that could only be operated by locations, areas, and states. It forced, hurt, tricked, hurt, and persuaded those states to have to react to fact treatment nature and then defend that, hurting others, people, others, ourselves for things that it caused and did. And then it built them, built all sides doing that, not realizing that more and more they would not be able to afford short words, proper by the convictions of nature, like how we have black people's whites of eyes, and that is that is inseparable from how a breaching method before America's founders were born had reassigned the community. It had reassigned roles with reassigning the communications and the revelations that come with having black people's whites of eyes. No, and other species bodies with eyes distinctly, but non-distinctly too, and simultaneously, but also so we could discern that further distinct identity of simultaneous nature, the hyper-simultaneous, if you will. Religion fell, be tribes, but here again all names. Republic, Campus Marcius. It serves a function where every identity is its own. We have to be led by hyper invisible but still discernible. As we have to be a system of nature of sense and sensibility. Use Jane Austen's phrase that, or not say as not as her phrase, because I didn't even read her book yet. But in other words, before we could get to the treatment of these subjects proper, we have to have the principles of law understood, and this is principle who denies it will have inherent to, active to, and progressive to their logic, their nature of logic, demonstrations / demonstrations plural of the same thing, because one body is generating all these different species bodies of individual bodies with all group differences generating more and more of its identity of forever nature. And English was revealed to be taught this way. And many pray because the campuses have been abridged. And to specifically affect our quality of fact, aspects of fact treatment nature. And as criminal insidiousness / hypercriminal insidiousness. The criminal insidiousness roles, like they can be discerned where no one has the right to change or deny dishonestly. As crime scenes, what's communicated by black people's whites of eyes, about black, white, about different. We have the same color eyes, and they are those colors, white and black. We have different color eyes at the same time. And further, we're showing about difference. The other color, we have eyes different from the other, differently than the other species do. So when it shows us everything is distinct, non-distinct, and simultaneous / hyper simultaneous relative to its body, a value progression, a value / value progression. The identity that is all things at once. Well, not, but anyway. Just like the tip of a piece of your hair is your body always. Well, not, but anyway. Hear many pray. This breaching method knew that each age would be. This breaching method measures and maintains self-value roles with other being and having been communicated for James Madison and for our founders, and they communicate. They have replaced right from the communications of James Madison and our founders behind him and his plan, the scientific value of the human fact treatment nature breaching method. They have roles consciously, self-value with uses of our use / s of the words of our founders, leaving out how they did not have free speech, how everyone's motives were narratives had to be checked. So they had to make fake motives together. They had to force everyone to play, in other words. That's why how they had to leave slavery entrenched. Our founders communicated for us to understand that slavery, they didn't have free speech. There was a torture, extortion, and fact-cheating nature slavery method against everyone sickly distinctly. And it was a syntactically ordered. It's a nature of order as criminal insidiousness. It's a body of order as criminal insidiousness. And is a quality of diffusion that way. But also slash as hyper criminal insidiousness. But that's self-valued distinctly by the individual leaders because how the individuals at locations, areas, and states force it. And some other ways that they force it. And the difference of that too is exploited by the breaching method. It too, any grouping of countries has complete, as long as they're entertaining their own locations, areas, and states entertain quality aspects of factory nature itself treatment. They have has complete control over them, where and how it counts, relative to how we can cause positive value nature progressions, action natures everywhere at once. If we make sure that we're not causing criminal insidiousness natures of, let alone criminal insidiousness natures of them in collusion /S. This is what all subject treatments have been. So just for 3 days, they charged $20,000, and they put fake transcripts with me. And so they're also, they're now they're making, and they have all kinds of legal scams. UConn has roles with psychiatry, with all kinds of drugs and medicines crimes, with foreign and domestic military, and people involved with differences, rackets, identity theft, fraud, slanders. A Violet family is involved with Kolvinska's family, involved with people named O'Brien. I never seen him with the O'Briens. I barely seen him around the Kalal family. That was a part of their confessions to me. I only know them seeking me out as strangers to make confessions and demonstrations. I never had a class with them. They're people I never had classes with. Once they put Ray Kalal in my class, it was to cover up what I recorded them doing before that. These are people that have been put me in conversations with the Wethersfield police as a kid and then as an adult, and they had to hide it with the news articles. These are also people next to the news locations through time. A Kalal family and a Pandal family have all along Route 3 roles with a police chief Centron, and 1 years before that, involved also with people with the name Lewis, involved with some kids at Trinity College that also got involved in my street with some untimely deaths at Trinity College. And they're involved with some digital and mail and wire crimes with people before the World Trade Center attack, involved with Hartford courts and the Britain Superior Court with the FBI Director Robert Luskin, his co-defendants and their family members who have been putting fake things in databases, also with the families of judges and prosecutors. 2 times they totally made things up to force me to a Hartford hospital. And for 30 days, and no one would speak with me. And when I told them I didn't want to speak with them, we had conversations about that. We didn't even have a conversation about that. In other words, barely had words with them. They changed the fake things. They're speaking fake things in records, digital crimes with a principal upskirt nature before. They have digital crimes forcing such with medical and sexual offenders of the kids. And they put their own little kids in there with fake passions and emotions. They have a Leahy family involved with all kinds of foreign and domestic medical and offenders. They have people from Russia, Ukraine at the same time with Hartford Hospital with this Leahy family. People named Lombardo, people named Walters, involved putting identity theft, fraud, slanders, forced roles too. Intelligence family, recording capacity, in other words, putting fake ties, fake natures ties to me. Something to do with their roles all along Church Street through time. People have been planting evidences with these names too. And Like 2 times I took a cooking class. 2 times they have people involved with putting predicate acts with facts on all sides of my house. With the people I've recorded involved forcing the principal child abuser and other things I've recorded. They attach me and the kids. They attach kids and their family members and kids and the people and their neighbors to fake and change communications with each other. These are people that are putting fake things in databases, have ties to each. There's a DeMoro family. There's a John DeMoro who sought me out to make confessions and demonstrations about his roles with sexual and medical abuses of little boys and girls, with grammar schools and middle school, and people with the high schools and the difference of that. And I never saw him on a campus in my life. He's involved with a Joe DeMoro I only saw one time on my campus, involved with a Mr. Abruzzi, involved increasingly with people tied to body dumping spots and whiting forensics, involved with all kinds of digital crimes and wire crimes. Joe DeMoro recorded, confessed, demonstrate from then they cover up. They use wire crime methods. I recorded them too. See, there are things hyper evidentially recorded, just like black people's whites of eyes. We have to use this phrase, hyper evidential. So these are people that have remote use / uses of the sense and of the sensibilities of Judge Napolitano. A whole bunch of people at and next to Fox Connecticut News are involved with medical campuses like Hartford Hospital and with the businesses and houses next to it, with all kinds of distinct drugs and medicines crimes. Also with and has names involved at the corrections offices of Connecticut and next to it, and at the judicial branch offices next to it. Note how medicines crimes are drug crimes. And their tactically delusions wrought, but they're putting fake transcripts and forging names too, where their roles with other countries and the differences of their guilt. The breaching method used is such to show them they have to hide live progressions. So a Leahy family is one of the ones involved with fake transcripts of me and with the people making confessions and demonstration confirmations of their roles with also legal crimes, criminally foreign influence uses of databases at Hartford Hospital, also hyper criminally foreign influence, so to speak. And these are people involved with investigations of the World Trade Center attack that have roles. There are people that I don't even know that know my name that recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. People with the business department and international relations with Central Connecticut State University. They have people with the name Scalora, also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed through time, involved with child sex offenders, leaders of Kids First Forced, and people that I never saw them on campus in my life. They're involved with my neighbors, with the police that attached me to fake conversations with themselves when I was a kid and I was an adult. And when I was a kid, when I was an adult, there were police with the name Mendez involved with the cultural rackets with some KKK, black theme, Latino theme, Italian theme, and they're educators involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders. Has something to do with recording, confessing, and demonstrating, confirming. It's their collusion / S with names at and next to the state judicial branch offices of Connecticut and at and next to the state corrections offices. As the ones from Connecticut, interbranch and intelligence tied to them, foreign and domestic. They have roles of all names on all sides of criminal and civil cases and depositions and the crime scenes and and relative body dumping spots of totally different murders, years apart, where there were time use / uses of it recorded and confirmed on Facebook. See, there are things that are hyper evidentially recorded that show on a mass scale the names of the people, the sciences, being and having been used remotely. Forgiveness is, if they want forgiveness, that's why they have supposed to have mandated law followed too, because they have people. In other words, if you think about it, they have all names. They have people around each other where they're forced in a jail or a medical, a hospital with the mental health side where they force you in there, and they're going to watch you. In other words. Those people have collusion at the crime scenes, their families. They have mass identity theft, fraud, slanders, which is one of the things true always. Changing what black people's rights of eyes is about. This is about how nature communicates about identity. Nature showing us its body of difference. because they're showing us we didn't invent how the other species' bodies have two eyes, and they didn't invent it. But it's with all things anyway, so it's them too. And we could ignore its system. But then our special difference is forced from here. Worse than death. This is what science shows us. The science of pantheism, which is led by the distinct identity of simultaneous nature. That distinct identity of hyper-invisible but still discernible. It is what we discern, where and how we discern. The parts of speech as the invisible but still discernible. But why and how we need to discern more than one, why we have to appreciate more than one word for a verb, like a predicate, as a main verb, like a gerund, a participle, a present participle, past participle natures. Where we are appreciating, there is the body of the hyper-invisible but still discernible. Know how they're about past and present. The future is invisible, but is hyper invisible, but still discernible. Like but still distinctly, as a distinct identity of its complete body. As part of its complete body is inseparable from even the smallest finite details, then further the group parts and the simultaneous parts of all things, even if they're made up. But part of its body won't fit, just like your complete identity won't fit in the tip of your hair. Except it's true. It will. At the same time, it will anyway. Because it's how nature communicates. How nature shows us all things as itself. And its relativity to a special difference. Its relativity / hyper-relativity to a special difference. Where it is hyper-relativity to itself, it will only stay increasingly positive to itself, relative to its roles with Earth's a special difference, our own. So we could stay systems other, but it will force that from here, our special difference. As for its space nature transfer, as least of Hadith, Lethe. Thank you. Whoa.